Over the past couple of years, I think a lot of campaigning has been done for the people to help conserve the forests, help protect wildlife. But how come demand is still very high here?
I think it has to do with the economic boom in Southeast Asia. I mean, at the moment, Vietnam is being pinpointed as a country where the economic boom and the disposable income by new middle and upper class allows them to buy products which they couldn't afford before, mainly rhino horn and tiger cake and so on. So I think that's what drives the market here in Southeast Asia. The new middle class wanting to have these what are now considered lifestyle products.
What about in other parts of the world, in America, Latin America, or even in Europe?
We did show in a case of the reptile skin trade, where Switzerland is the biggest importer of skins from Indonesia and Vietnam, that the Swiss watch industry wasn't on top of their supply chain either and had no control, and CITES permits were circumvented by going over the quotas by smuggling skins from Indonesia to Malaysia and exporting it from there. So yes, we target the Swiss consumer as the Swiss watch manufacturers, saying you have more of a responsibility, which use these skins without knowing where they come from. Okay, this is only snakes, but they are still creatures which fulfill a role in the ecosystem. If we wipe them out, we are harming ourselves at the end of the day.
ข่าวอามานได้ผลิตสารคดี The Medan Connection เพื่อเปิดเผยเบื้องหลังความโหดร้ายของอุตสาหกรรมค้าหนังงู ภาพที่ปรากฏในสารคดีนี้เป็นภาพที่หาดูได้ยากและน่าสยดสยองเป็นอย่างมากข้าหวังว่าความจริงที่น่าสะเทือนใจนี้จะช่วยหยุดความโหดเหี้ยมที่มนุษย์กระทำต่อสัตว์ร่วมโลกได้ค่ะ
Out of the bags they come. In some cases, hammers are used, and in other cases, iron rods to kill them, if they're lucky, and knocking them unconscious if the brain is not hit and destroyed with these blows. As a result, a certain number of these snakes are clearly still alive, waiting to be hung on a hook for further processing. Then they're filled with a water hose to stretch their bodies, and with it the skin, which will make the subsequent removal easier. The snakes are kept in this stretched position for some 2 or 3 hours.
They're now going through the standard procedure of being filled with water, so the skin pattern comes out nicely.
Next, a razor blade is used to cut the skin down the length of the body. Then, decapitation. In some skinneries, the heads are not removed prior to the skinning of the snakes, and it can be assumed that they are indeed skinned while still alive. The body is then taken down and fixed with a rope while the skin is pulled off. Then the snake is cut open and the gallbladder removed. Which is then dried and sold as a traditional Chinese medicine product. At this point, it becomes clear that several of the female pythons were pregnant, and thus clutches of eggs are lost, and they will not contribute to the wild stock in future. In what must have been a recently caught snake, there is a rat body in the stomach, still pretty much intact.
Now, this corpus they just cut open and found this rat inside. And that's obviously one of the functions of pythons and snakes in general, and that is getting rid of rodents. And that's one of the big issues here, is getting rid of all these snakes means the rodents will take over. To what extent do they control this pest? And to what extent is the offtake of snake going to result in rodents becoming more of a nuisance and more of a pest here?
Was it very difficult for you to film the Medan Connection for the reptile skin trade?
It was less difficult than I thought. I think today it would be more difficult because the reaction to all this is for the authorities to make sure less coverage, therefore it's less of an issue. So people will not be issued with filming permits if they're asked to officially go and document this scenario. And the Indonesian Reptile Traders Association has stated that they will try to do their utmost to no longer get this kind of coverage, which will mean restricting the media from filming it rather than cleaning up the act.
So after your documentary is out, The Medan Connection, has Swiss authorities done anything about it?
Yeah, I think it did hit the nerve when it went out on Swiss TV. The Swiss Parliament did vote. Somebody presented it in Parliament, so one chamber voted to stop the import of these skins. The Swiss executive then decided it would be hard because they would infringe on world trade regulations. So that's now WTO would object to Switzerland unilaterally stopping the import of a product. So I think that's where it's stuck now. So it will depend on how much lobbying by the Swiss parliamentarian will go into this. But yes, it has gone further than any of the other issues I have raised.
What can we do to help educate or raise awareness on the part of consumers?
I said, I think, the footage on the reptiles, for example, is such that most people will accept that reptiles can feel pain and are suffering. Now, once you accept that, I mean, most of us are not sympathetic to a python and so on. It's not something we feel strongly about. But when you see the image of it suffering, maybe that will make you decide, do I really need this, or can I live with an imitation product? Nobody will know the difference anyway. So I feel getting some of these graphic images out is important, except a lot of broadcasters shy away from showing them. They don't want to lose viewers who are too disturbed by this imagery. And the viewer should be confronted with this so he can decide, do I really need this? Do I really want to cause this suffering down the line? As long as the consumer can say, oh, I didn't know the elephant needed to be killed to get its ivory, he has an easy excuse to further consume ivory. So yes, the media has a big role, but the media has to be willing to go with the kind of imagery which illustrate what goes on the ground.